Hey everybody, welcome to the Connection Hub. And if you are returning, welcome back. I always think about how can we think about things from multiple perspectives. Seemingly ordinary things always carries more than one meaning with it. And so at the Connection Hub, there is a focus and an ongoing exploration of what is our connection with ourselves, our connection with other humans, and our connection with nature and animals. Our connection in general and how that all interfaces, overlaps, and forms a very complex system. And so things are not always black and white. There's always multiple layers and there's always something to be learned. And so recently I watched this documentary, A Gorilla Story, as told by David Attenborough. And it is a fascinating documentary, fascinating because I'm fascinated with gorillas, but also fascinating in terms of the number of lessons that can be extracted from watching that documentary. I'll start off by pointing out that the work that David has been able to do and his ability to follow this particular group of gorillas could not have been made possible if it wasn't for the pioneering work that was done by Diane Fossey. And if you think about it, at the time when she was doing the work that she was doing, it was in a completely different time period. There was no real internet or access to the information that we have access to today. She went and lived in a rainforest, observed the behaviors of these gorillas, and through her studies and the notes and the information that she was able to pass on, other people were able to pick up on that and continue that work. And so that's lesson number one for me, is that the work that you are carrying out may not necessarily bear the fruit in your lifetime. However, it is important to start, it is important to make that contribution, because you never know where it will lead to. So lesson number one, every moment counts, every contribution counts. Now let's move more towards the gorillas and their social and relational intelligence and how they are able to exist within a very complicated structure without any vernacular, without any language or dialect. All of their interactions and their engagements are based on instinct, emotional attunement with their environment, being able to read the room, the energy, without saying a word. And yes, they make certain sounds to communicate where they are or what state of mind they are in, but there is no particular language. There is a system where there is someone that is in charge, there is a particular hierarchy, there is a span of time that silverback will be in charge of that particular group, but there comes a time when that leader will have to step down or will be challenged by a younger, stronger, physically stronger gorilla to become the next leader. And that obviously can be a very violent process, but that is the way that the social engagement or the social structure has been set up, that there will be a change, and there will be one that will have to step down eventually, and one will rise and take its place. However, the key for me here that I had observed was, it doesn't just mean because you are physically strong, you have challenged the existing leader, and you are stepping in to become the next leader, that you will be automatically accepted by the group. You need to win over the dominant female as well, because she plays a crucial role within that social structure, and she will show through her behavior and her actions who she is aligned to. Does she remain aligned to the existing older leader and the group sort of follows that direction? Or does she recognize that there's a new leader that needs to step in, the older one, it's time for them to essentially move along or now have a different role within that group? And if she aligns to this new leader, that's how acceptance forms within the group. And I think that is crucial just in terms of our social structures and the way that we as humans connect. And there can be something learned from it, that not every person is going to rise to the top into a leadership position, but every person plays a part, every person has a role to play, and never underestimate the supporting functions of any leader. Another key thing that stood out for me was when one of the gorillas, who'd also started becoming of age and could be seen as a worthy opponent for the other gorilla that was challenging the existing leader for dominance or to take that leadership role, when he was excommunicated from the group, he lived a more solitary life, which goes against the nature of the gorillas because they are quite social creatures. And the key comment that stood out for me there was that those gorillas that get excommunicated from the group, they become the most dangerous gorillas. And what can we learn from this as human beings? When we do not include everybody, when we excommunicate people from our social circles, when people feel like they don't have a sense of belonging, a safe place to go to, that is when they become more dangerous to the rest of society. So the lesson here is how, as far as possible, and I'm not suggesting that we need to be putting up with unhealthy behaviors within our social circles or any form of abuse, etc. However, are we able to hold space? Are we able to show up in a way where there is inclusion and inclusivity in order for people to feel that there's a sense of belonging? Because if we have sufficient groups together where people feel that they belong somewhere, that will stand us in good stead for the whole of society. And one of the most profound lessons for me through the story of the gorillas is this one moment where a baby is killed by actually the gorilla that was excommunicated from the group, and how that first time mother sits with the little dead body, and you can see the grief and the emotion that flows through her. And she's not sitting alone. For days, the other females surround her as she's going through this deep grief. The father, the silverback, who is the leader of the group, also steps in and sits with her. And that for me is absolutely profound. And how our social circles can be so dismissive of the grief that we are going through or that we experience, or how people expect us to just move on in a heartbeat. And that is not necessarily the healthiest thing for us, because here we're learning from gorillas without any language to ask, are you okay? Is everything going well for you? What can we do? No, the communication happens spontaneously. There is an embodiment and understanding that something profound has happened here, and that this is not a time to be relaxing or being playful or jovial, but this is a time for us to sit in that energy and to sit in that presence of this loss as they are moving through that process. And so for me, just watching this documentary, it has been so profound in terms of the lessons, as I consider myself someone that deeply cares about language and words and the way that we communicate. But they are illustrating to me that social intelligence, relational intelligence, spans much more beyond the spoken word. It is about the energy that we exhibit, the tone that our energy sets in environments, our understanding that our bodies sometimes will feel that energy, feel the tension, or feel the ease and the relaxation before the mind can catch up. And so, yes, we are more evolved as a species in terms of our understanding of language and our ability to communicate, which also trips us up, right? It also give rise to a lot of miscommunication and a lot of pain, etc. But the key lesson for me here is to experience life through multiple layers and multiple levels. And there is always something to be learned from ourselves, the way we show up from other people and our social interactions and the social structures and hierarchies, etc. And also animals. Animals that do not say a word, and yet through their being, their behaviors, their understanding of instinct, there's so much that we can learn from them. And so thank you for listening if you are still here. There's no particular instruction or request. It is more so food for thought while listening or contemplating what we can learn from these beautiful creatures. So thank you so much. I hope this will give you some different insights and help you with your own embodiment and how you show up in the world, and to recognize that your presence matters. The way you show up, the energy that you produce, it matters. And other beings will be able to pick up on that energy that you are bringing to the table. So I hope that this will bring awareness to you in terms of your own energy and help you to show up in a way that is supportive to yourself and to others, that shows up in a way where there's a groundedness, a steadiness, a way that you are able to set a tone in an environment that brings about a sense of peace and calmness in other people, as well as make people feel included and that they belong. Wow, so much to learn from the gorilla story. I just wanted to share that. I think it's really fascinating. And if you haven't watched it and you are able to give it a go, you may pick up something completely different that I haven't mentioned here, but it is definitely well worth a watch. Sending you this message with much love.